Touchdown, buzzer beater, do it all now. All now, top corner talking home run. Touchdown, buzzer beater, do it all now. All now, top corner like.
All right. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the first episode of my brand new podcast, The Monday Report. I'm your host, H. James K. And in episode 1, we are going to be talking about retirement. I know, very weird to talk about retirement on the first episode of my brand new podcast when I've got plans and plans. But, this is the time of year when athletes all over the world are beginning to say, do I want to do this anymore? Is this something I want to do for another year? Another year of workouts, another year of strict dieting, early 6 a.m. practices. Is this something I want to do again? Well, for many out there, the answer to that will be no. I do not want to do this anymore. But others will say, you know what? I have one more year left in me. I've got 2 more years. I've got things I want to do. And those decisions, come down to a multitude of things. Why? The question is, why do players walk away from the game? Now, for many, the physical toll of the game, whether that's hockey, baseball, basketball, football, every sport takes a toll on the human body. In IndyCar racing, a lot of older drivers from decades gone by, especially in IndyCar, would do what's called the Indy Shuffle, which was their car would hit the wall so often that their ankles would be broken so often. So they would kind of shuffle around because their ankles had been fused so many times. So there came a point where a lot of them couldn't physically do the job anymore. Their knees couldn't handle it. Their ankles and legs couldn't handle the punishment of crashing into the wall. So a lot of them would retire. In football, it's the same principle. There's a lot of guys who Calvin Johnson's a great example. He's huge. He's faster than you. He's stronger than you, taller than you. He's better than you. So how do you tackle him? You go for the knees. So for a guy like him, his knees were held together with shoestrings and strong feelings. And especially when paired with losing a lot, there comes a point where a lot of guys go, do I really want to keep getting hurt like this? Is the pain of the game actually worth it? And some will say, yes, it is, because they can't see it within themselves to go. They say, yes, the pain is worth it. The struggle is worth it. But others will say, yeah, no, this isn't for me. Like Calvin Johnson, Barry Sanders, guys were just like, I am so damn tired of getting hurt and not winning anything, so I'm walking away. But for others, retirement is about the lack of joy, the lack of falling out of love with the game. Like, I mentioned Barry Sanders, and injuries was a part of Barry Sanders, but the ultimate biggest part of it was he just didn't love the game anymore. He didn't love the game enough to want to keep going with a futile franchise like the Lions used to be. Thank God the Lions aren't like that anymore. But it came down to, I just don't want to do this anymore because what's the point? I don't love what I do anymore. Whereas Tom Brady, it was, my abilities have diminished, but I am not ready to walk away. I love the game too much. So I'm going to keep going until I'm 45. I'm going to keep going year after year after year, pushing myself and redefining what it means to be an old quarterback. And ultimately for Brady, considering he's the greatest of all time, the absolute unquestioned GOAT, it worked out well for him, and he won a Super Bowl, and he walked off in the sunset, and obviously he got, eliminated the last time, but it happens, He walked off into the sunset, and nobody could fault him. There was not a strike on his game. So that leads us back to the question, why do players walk away? Well, it's different for everybody. Now, let's look at Aaron Rodgers. He's over 40. He's coming off of an Achilles injury. He just came off of a mediocre season, one in a succession, because his last season with the Packers was mediocre. It was not good. Contrary to what a lot of people would have you believe, he was awful at times in his last year with the Packers. And his game with the Jets never really improved. But Aaron Rodgers doesn't want to walk away. He loves the game. He enjoys the game. He wants to keep playing. But he's getting injured more. He doesn't have a deep ball. He's not accurate. He's not as accurate as he used to be. He can't run anymore. He's not as dedicated. And even from a mental standpoint, he may love the game, but he's not as dedicated to like practice and such as he used to be. So for him, it might make sense to walk away, but he won't. He should walk away, but he won't. He'll keep going until he's so dreadful and so bad that the team should say, we're no longer interested. He's not going to retire himself from the league. The league is going to retire him. And that's the difference. Now, Travis Kelce, on the other hand, is totally different. Travis Kelce is a great tight end. Arguably the greatest ever at the position. I mean, you can make an argument for Shannon Sharp and Gronk and Tony Gonzalez, but Travis Kelce was in a league of his own. He's still physically able to do the game. Now, his legs are not completely gone, but they're gone. He cannot outrun man coverage anymore. He can't beat a guy one-on-one anymore. He just can't do it. But that doesn't mean he isn't capable of playing the game. He was fairly healthy this last year. He didn't have a lot of he didn't have as many catches as he's normally does, but he was productive for his age. But there are questions of whether or not Travis Kelce is dedicated to the game like he used to be. You know, there's questions of, does he want to do everything that is required to come back and do it? Even though he knows he can do the job, does he want to do the job? And even if he does want to do the job, he won't be able to do it like he used to, so is it worth it? These are questions he's going to obviously have to answer for himself. Now, he's going to have a productive TV career or movies or whatever. He's going to be a star. We all know this. He's too big of a personality. And he's got Taylor Swift to come home to. Yeah, the blonde-haired bombshell billionaire pop star. So he's got a good life on the other end of football. He knows that stuff is going to happen. That's all going to happen. But does he want to walk away from the game yet? Now, if he chooses to stay another year or two, his game is going to have to change. He's going to have to go to being a more situational, rotational tight end, and no more man beaters. No more hanging him out in man coverage. That's just not going to be a thing. From now on, Travis Kelce is going to be the go in on a 3rd and short in zone coverage and beat that zone coverage and just get open in the flat and catch a ball. Meanwhile, then walk back to the sideline and mentor the young guys who are now doing more of the heavy lifting. If he's willing to reinvent his game, I think Travis Kelce can do 3 or 4 more years of this before Father Time catches up with him completely and he's just has to retire. Now, having said that, I think he's going to retire. I genuinely believe Travis Kelce is going to retire. Now, of course, if he announces that he's coming back in the next 12 hours, 12 or 18 hours, then, well, I'm going to look like an idiot when I post this. But barring that unforeseen shock, I think he's going to end up retiring before the offseason is over. Because he's got so much left of his life that he can do that's beyond football, even though he's physically able to do the job. It's kind of an interesting thing. Travis Kelce and Rodgers, they should both do the opposite of what I think they're going to do. One should retire, one should stay, but instead they're both going to do the inverse. which is, part of the game. New guys come along and replace the old guys, and the old guys get, they ride off into the sunset and wait for their shot at the Hall of Fame. Both of these guys are going to the Hall. Anyone who tells you that Travis Kelce and Aaron Rodgers aren't going to the Hall is full of crap. They're an idiot, and don't listen to them. Both of them are going to be first or second ballot Hall of Famers, easily. But, well, today is not that day. All right, this is kind of a short one for the first one, but, we're easing into this. I'm still figuring out how this whole podcast thing works. So, I want to thank all of you for giving me your time and attention, listening to me ramble on and on about sports, about the games that I love. I got to thank you for that. So for those of you listening on YouTube, like, comment, subscribe, do all the things. For those of you on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, thank you very, very much. I really appreciate taking the time to find me, first of all, and listening to what I do. All right. So episode 2 is going to be Poachers, college football and the reality of name, image, and likeness. And we're going to talk about the lawless nature of college football and NIL and tampering and the need for new rules. Episode 3, game was rigged from the start. Perceptions of officiating in sports. We're going to talk all about what makes good officiating and what makes bad officiating in the various sports that we all love. And maybe we'll come up with some solutions. Episode 4 is going to be Absolute Cinema. The good and bad traits of sports films. We're going to talk all about the good things and bad things that many sports films decide to do. We're going to embrace the suck and cherish the good. So then the 5th one for today, Monday, February 17th, 2025, Daytona Days, thoughts on the great American race. We're going to talk all about yesterday's Daytona 500. We're going to talk about the greater history of the race and my general thoughts on both yesterday's race and the overall direction I think the sport is taking and should take. So those will be all for February 17th. Next week, NFL Combine Preview. Yeah, look forward to that one. It's crazy that it's coming up so soon, but it's coming. Before too long, we'll be getting back to football season, and we'll start the whole rigmarole all over again. All right, I would like to thank all of you for joining me. Until next time.